This is Dan and Lexi from Dan Schultz Outdoors, reminding you, keep the adventures alive. Hey y'all, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Colleen. And we're the Keel Quest. And we want you to keep the adventures alive. Cheers!
Hey, this is Darren from Ride, Paddle, Repeat, encouraging you to keep the adventures alive.
This is David from Beachley Ironworks saying keep the adventures alive.
Hey, Kevin with an A here. Keep the adventure alive.
Hi, I'm Dan Mayotte. Keep the adventures alive.
Hi, I'm Kevin Callan, the Happy Camper. Remember, keep the adventures alive. Awesome!
Woo, buddy! Shug here! Keep the adventures alive. I am.
Ethan here, the avid outdoorsy guy, reminding you to keep the adventures alive.
We're John and Aaron.
Keep the adventures alive.
Hey everyone, it's Kylan from Lure of the North, and I encourage you to keep the adventures alive.
This is Sky North telling you, keep the adventures alive. And now on with the show.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show, a show that brings you a lot closer to the great outdoors. My name is Dennis, also known as Canoehound, and if this is your first time watching the show tonight, welcome to the live stream. Hopefully you enjoy yourself, and hopefully you enjoy it enough that you'll hit that thumbs up button down there and smash the subscribe button. So sit back, relax tonight. We got a great show for you. Just while our chat is populating here, I see the numbers are starting to build up there. I just want to get a few things out of the way before we get into our topic of tonight and our guest, of course. First off, tonight's show is brought to you, obviously, by Algonquin Outfitters, who are celebrating their 60th year in business. Be sure to check out their 60th anniversary giveaway that they got going on right now. It's really cool. All the answers to the questions that they have and all the chances that you'll be able to get are found on their website. And you can find the links to that right down below in the description. You'll find the link there where you can actually go get yourself set up for the contest and partake in that. If you don't enter, you don't have a chance to win. And of course, our friends at Algonquin Outfitters are always very knowledgeable and are there to help you when it comes time to plan your trips or any adventure outing that you may have coming up. Also, shout out to our friends over at Kid Products, makers of the Kid Twig Stove and Reflector Oven. And tonight's guest, new sponsor for the show, we have Hunter and Harris Paddles, makers of high-quality canoe paddles. We got an interesting show and topic with them tonight that we're going to be finding out all kinds of things that you might need to know or may not even know about paddles. So put your seatbelt on for that one. Also, shout out to our friends over at Great Signs and Graphics. They can print almost anything. Short Hills Beard Company, the ones that keep this little scruff looking good. And our friends over at the Back Country Coffee Company, you know, they keep Canoehound supplied with their coffee for each week's show. So thanks very much there. If you're looking for any of the services that any of these companies offer, by all means, please do check them out. You know what? They're all very knowledgeable. They all have great quality and great products. By all means, check them out. Links are in the description below. You know what? If you missed last week's show, I urge you, go back and watch it, man. Last week, we had none other than Survivor Man himself, Les Stroud, was on the show as our guest. It was a very exciting time for me, having been a fan of Les Stroud for many, many, many years. I probably caught his very first airing of Survivor Man, and have seen every one of his episodes at least 10 times. But who's counting, right? Maybe even more. But yeah, he was on the show last week, and short of giving anything away, because I really think that anybody that hasn't seen it should go back and watch it. Les told us all kinds of great stories. He told us what he's up to, what's going on with him nowadays, because he's supposedly retired. I don't buy it for a second. And heck, man, we even got him to pull out the guitar. He strummed a few chords for us, played the harp a little bit there. So yeah, by all means, check it out. It's a very entertaining show. And I hope to bring you Mr. Stroud one more time again in the future, or many times. That'd be awesome. But if you missed it, like I say, go back and check it out. It's in the video library under season 2 and 3, last week's show. By all means, congratulations from that show go out to Sam P, who was the winner of last week's swag giveaway. Sam, if you're in the chat tonight, your prize is officially in the mail. Don't forget, last week I mentioned Algonquin Outfitters is running the Algonquin Outfitters Charity Paddle Art Auction that runs from September 13th until the 27th. For those of you that might not be aware of it here, I just want to play a quick little video that'll give you a little more information on it.
Hi everybody, my name's Matt Huddlestone. I am the manager of the Algonquin Theatre, and we are thrilled to welcome Algonquin Outfitters for the Paddling Art Auction in 2021. This is our first event of the year, and we're asking everyone to come down and please check out these incredible paddles and canoes from artists all throughout Canada and Ontario. The dates for the auction, you can go online, are September 13th through September 27th. Our opening hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. with a special viewing Saturday, September 25th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Don't forget to come and visit us. Everything is online at Algonquin Outfitters. Looking forward to seeing you.
So there you have it, the Algonquin Outfitters Charity Paddle Art Auction. As he mentioned there, it is running from September the 13th until September the 27th. Obviously, many of you might not be able to go, but you could definitely check out the auction website, which is listed also in the description below. You can go on there and you can see all the beautiful pieces of art that have been done by various artists from a pretty wide area. I was on there last night and I put in a couple bids. I'll have to admit, I'm going to be watching them bids. But anyways, there's some beautiful pieces of artwork done on these paddles. And how fitting is that it kind of goes in theme with what's going on tonight, right? The paddle show. Anyways, go on there, check it out. Hopefully you'll find something that you like and put a bid in on it. You know what? All proceeds go to a great cause. And yeah, you'll be doing something good by getting it. And you'll be getting yourself a beautiful piece of art for the wall. So yeah. You only have a few more days to bid on that too. Don't forget, today's September 21st. The 27th is the closing for that. So one more thing here. We got membership shout out time. It's basically, there's a lot more room for channel members. If anybody's interested in becoming a channel member of Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show to gain yourself some more perks and benefits, every member gets a channel decal, a membership decal, and there's a bunch of perks that go along with that. You'll see a button down around there that says join. Hit that at any time, whether it's during the show or after the show or anytime you visit the channel. There's all kinds of details on there as to what you get. There's different levels that are available, and every little bit of support goes right back into the show. any support that we get, and I hate saying this every week, or I'm not asking for it because it's not expected, but any money that comes into the show goes back out. We give it back out to people when it comes down to giving away swag and mailing and the production costs of doing the show here, which is, paying for the streaming software, for the new internet that I just finally got, so that hopefully the show quality is a lot better. And everything goes right back into the show. Dennis isn't getting rich off this. I buy myself a couple beers here and there to enjoy on the show while I'm partaking with all of you. But that's kind of the goal there. So feel free to try and become a member if you like. Right down there, hit the join button. Upcoming shows. September 28th, that would be next weekend. For any of you that might be a Baird fan, for the first time, we've had both Jim and Ted on the show separately in the past. This is the first time they're actually going to be on the show together. We're going to be talking about their 700-kilometer northern Manitoba trip that they're showing videos on right now here on YouTube. If you got questions for the boys, get on here and ask them. Should be a great show. Both Jim and Ted are very entertaining when it comes to being in front of a camera, and it's going to be a good time there. Again, another thrill for this guy because I'm big fans of their YouTube channels, and not to mention they are super duper guys. So guys, if you're in the chat, I'm blushing right now. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, and then October 5th, we have another favorite YouTube channel of mine, one that I just got turned on to there about 2 or 3 months ago, and that would be Xander Budnick. If you're not familiar with Xander Budnick, check him out. Links in the description below, but he will be our guest on October 5th. And then for more information on shows, be sure to follow us on Facebook or on my website, canoehoundadventures.com, where I've always got all kinds of upcoming information. There's all kinds of neat things on there, so be sure to check that out. Heck, I might even, let's put the link to that on, there we go, canoehoundadventures.com. That time of night, toast to the backcountry. We are going to have our toast, so if you all have your beverages handy, tonight I'm going to be enjoying you know what, I'm going to get back into my Cayman Kettle beer, the Effinia, okay, which is one of my favorite brews. And tonight we'll be doing our toast of the backcountry, which is, you can crack your beers now if you got them. If you ever want to buy Canoehound a beer, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/Canoehound. Anyways, tonight's toast of the backcountry. It's a time for the changing of the seasons, right? Out goes the heat of the summer, and we welcome in the colors of fall. So here's to the glorious beauty of the autumn season. Cheers, everybody. All right. 2 more things. I stop blabbing and we get into tonight's topic. If you have any hot topics or guests that you'd like to see on the show, please, by all means, drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. And I will do my darndest. Here's the link for that. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show or a topic that you would like us to cover, and I will be doing my darndest to make that happen. Like I said, it's sometimes ideas from you guys and gals goes miles. You know what I mean? It helps me. If I could tell somebody or let somebody know that people want to see them, it makes these things happen. So by all means, shoot me your ideas. And then again, if you have any questions for tonight's guests, feel free to put the word question in front of your question in the chat over there. It makes it easier for me to identify. But also after the 8 o'clock hour, I will put the invite out there to have some of you come on up and ask a personal question, or not a personal question, but a question of our guest or myself, and we'll get that answered in person. Anyways, without further ado, let's get on to tonight's topic. Let's see. Introduction of the guests. Tonight's guests are the owner and operators of family-run, handcrafted canoe paddle company. Founded in 2017, they've continued to stand behind their values to ensure they offer the best quality product and customer experience. Not to mention, they make some beautiful, beautiful paddles. Quick little intro for you here.
We all have a connection to nature. Spending time outdoors allows us to slow down and appreciate the little things. Handcrafting a paddle is no different. It takes time to build something special. Each piece of wood is unique, and every paddle is a story waiting to happen. Where will your story take you?
Hey, that's a great little word. So welcome to the live stream tonight. Milan from Harris and Hunter Paddles. Or Hunter and Harris Paddles. I knew I was going to trip over my tongue once at least tonight. How you doing?
Pardon?
I said, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing top shelf.
Top shelf, eh? Are you drinking top shelf too, or what are you up to tonight here? Yeah. So, man.
Sorry, there was a bit of a lag there. So whatever just happened, oh well.
Oh, well, let's hope it doesn't go like that all night.
No.
Let's see. So, Milan, tell us a little bit about Hunter and Harris Paddles.
We started back in 2017 and been making paddles since 2016. But Mira and I decided to make it official in 2017. And we went hard ever since until, COVID came by and we had to take a hiatus for a year. And then we were just really fortunate to come back and, everyone welcomed us back, and that was really nice. And it just kind of shows how strong the community is and just how sweet the community is and everything. And I mean, we just couldn't be any happier. But a little bit more about H&H. We make paddles. When I say we, it's my wife and I, Mira. She might be in and out. We have 2 little girls, so they're a big handful for us. And let's just hope. I mean, she's watching right now, so babe, if you can, it would be nice. If you can't, it is what it is. See you tonight.
I've got 2 girls. They're all grown up now, but I understand, and I'm sorry for you.
Really?
They are a handful.
No words of encouragement there, eh?
I know. All on our end as fathers, right? We get to
I mean, I love them to death. They're just a lot of work. Parenting is really, really hard. So anybody that's thinking about it, watch out. It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So.
Yep. We've got our grandson over here tonight, and he's upstairs with the wife right now. We don't get to babysit him too often, but it's always a joy. But the nice thing about a grandchild is you can ship them back home, right? So that's, that's the best part. So what made you start? How did you get into handcrafting canoe paddles? Why not little toy trains or something like that? Like what's the allure to the paddle?
Well, I've been a carpenter all my life. I'm a 3rd generation carpenter woodworker. So, working with wood and making the trinkets and all that, been there, done that. So what happened was, I went on a canoe trip years ago. And I was always hooked because I've been canoeing off and on. I mean, we always had canoes in the family. Ever since I was a baby, my father always, was canoeing and stuff to go hunting and fishing. So, I mean, we always went on his adventures. So, I mean, I was drawn in right from the get-go. So anyways, I got all grown up and everything and decide, hey, you know what? I want my own canoe. There's nothing wrong with, going out and renting. They're great outfitters. We've used them a couple times and everybody is, it's great. But the thing is that I wanted my own canoe because I'm clumsy and bash into things all the time. I just don't want my deposit to go away that quickly, So I just want to be on my own account, right? So anyways, I went out, bought a brand new canoe, and then went over to my brother's house, and I was like, hey, where are the paddles? And he's like, what paddles? We bashed them and broke them last time. And I was like, all right. And he did give me a paddle. It was just half of it was missing. So I was like, all right. And he's like, hey, you're a woodworker. Why don't you make it yourself? Being, brother he is. So I was like, all right. So I went down to the hardware store, the wood store, and just picked up a couple pieces of cherry, and I just came up with a design all on my own. I was like, oh, this looks like a canoe paddle. I went and cut it up. I have some tools at home at the time. It wasn't that big of a task, but I made this canoe paddle and it sucked. It was just, I was like, this is not like, I mean, anything, there is no such thing as a bad canoe paddle until I came around. So I made this thing, and I just, it was like when that happened, and I after we christened the boat, my wife and I came home and I was like really disappointed in my craftsmanship and quality, and the gloves were off. I was ready to go at it. So, you know, off to the bank, I took some money out and went down to the store and picked up a bunch of more wood and just kept going until I made some that worked, and then just kept going back and forth. And I was like, all right, so. And that's kind of how it started. So it was an obsession, addiction, and I can't stop. You know, even if nobody buys canoe paddles from this day on, I will still be making them just because it's just, I can't stop.
Well, you know what, you telling that story, I had a question pop into my head, and I wasn't the only one, because our friends over at KeelQuest asked, do you still have that first paddle?
I do. It's downstairs in the basement. Mira, if you can hear me right now, if you can go grab the William, the very first one, downstairs. Ooh, no, that's the second paddle that I made that kind of worked, but it's okay. It's still there. So if you can find it and bring it
early
up.
days, that thing might be a collector's item and worth something one day, right?
The thing is a tank. Just to let everybody know, it's 5 pounds. Yeah. It's the things I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you said you guys were established, like, well, you started around 2016 into 2017, and at the onset of COVID there, right around the time that I wanted to pick up my Hunter and Harris paddle, I seen on social media that you guys were shutting down operations, and now you're back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. For you.
Yeah, so you mind if I ask, like, what happened there? What made you take a hiatus?
Okay, so COVID, really stressful time, and my wife, gave me some beautiful news that she was pregnant, and that was fantastic. Really happy, and and then COVID basically stopped everything, and our child was in daycare at the time. And my wife, Mira, actually, she helps here and there with the business. Not saying she doesn't. She does a great job. She does all the back end stuff. We can get into that later. But basically, she was drafted into working, on a COVID team as she works in public health. So she basically had to work for like sometimes 12 hours, sometimes it was just ridiculous hours, like just was working to the max while carrying our child. So my job basically was halt all operations and focus on making sure that, I can just basically just parent our daughter and, keep everything in line while the craziness was happening. And it was just such a confusing time. As everybody remembers, I mean, I don't want to hash up bad memories for anybody right now, but that was a really, really scary part of our lives. And I'm glad that I feel like we're over the hill now on this thing. And it was just, I had to stop Hunter and Harris because there was no way that I could make canoe paddles. I work in my shop, which is attached to my home, which we live in a subdivision. And I build all the canoe paddles in this subdivision home, and my neighbors are awesome. They're cool with it. But if I'm out making a racket at 8 p.m, they're going to be very upset at me. So I mean, we have this great relationship. I don't want to taint it. And we just weren't at the part where we were ready to take Hunter and Harris to the next step, where we can get it into a shop. That might be happening, but we can talk about that maybe another time. But so I'm trying not to. I think I'm like rambling on a little too much here.
No. You're explaining it well.
Yeah, but it was basically COVID, and I had to be a big dad and do dad duties, and there was just no way I could concentrate and make really nice paddles because I kind of have a standard that I don't want to I don't want to kind of cut down and just make them just for the sake of making the dollar. That's just it's more like making the paddle is a lot more than just $1 at the end of the day for me. So
yeah. Well, at that time, I remember it vividly, like I say, because I was like just getting myself into the market for new paddle and stuff like that, and I was kind of envious because Keel Quest, who's in the chat here, whose question I popped up earlier, they picked up a couple of your paddles, the laminated ones.
Yeah.
And beautiful pieces of work, and that's what had me sold on it right there, right? So I was going to be reaching out, and then all of a sudden this wave of, oh no, you guys, and everybody would anticipate for whatever reason. I kind of thought it might have had something to do with COVID or restructuring the business, because I know now that you've reopened, you're sticking to 3 specific types of paddles that you're doing at this time.
Yeah,
which are all beautiful. I'm going to pop a picture of them up here on the screen.
Sure.
And we'll get into talking a bit about them too. But let's see here. I'm going to find out through all my pictures. So here we have the Norseman, the Ottertail, and the Thompson, and they're all made of cherry wood, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is that your choice of wood now for pretty much all your paddles that you're going to be producing?
Well, yeah, for now. So we're doing the solid wood cherry, just primarily because it machines really well. It works really well with the hand tools, like really well with the hand tools. And I'm like it's easier for me to access, especially at the time when I came back, I wasn't able to go in the the lumber yards and hand pick my lumber anymore. They just said, "Sorry, Milan, we can't have you here." So from my experience, I could purchase cherry blind and make paddles out of it. Whereas if I were to go with the laminated, I'm very, very, very particular about what lumber I choose for those, because there's 3 woods involved. And or is it 4? No, I think it's only 3. Yeah, it's 3 woods involved with the laminated ones, and they all have to just do a certain thing and this and that, because the way I make them. Anyways, we can get into that in a little bit, but so that, and at the time, as I previously mentioned, I actually used my father's garage. I commandeered his garage. I mean, he's been a big supporter of my decision to go away from the family business and make, start my own legacy with Canoe Paddles. And so he just said, let's turn my garage into, your little finishing shop. And, and at the time that was great, but then things changed and I couldn't finish and fiberglass the laminated paddles there. So, I mean, there was already 2 strikes there, and basically the third strike was the accessibility as well. I guess that's still 2 strikes. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's it. Things are opening up now, so you never know. Maybe something really cool is about to happen. So.
Yeah, I've been following you quite a bit on Instagram and stuff like that, and I've seen that, I've seen one post that you had on there. You're all happy because you had like this big pallet load of cherry wood was delivered to the shop. Is that like a blind purchase, or is that something you're able to, at that time, were you able to select anything?
No, that was still a blind purchase, because now what the deal is that if I were to go there, they're all cleaned out of lumber. So basically what it's come down to is we're just eagerly waiting for big loads of lumber to essentially pop out of the kiln and go on a truck and then come to my house. So that's essentially how the operation is. And then from that, then I just select which one is good and which one isn't. And then I can decide what I can do with the lumber that I don't use for Canoe Paddles, whether that's, shipping it back to the lumber yard, or, I don't know, like I gave a whole bunch of lumber to a kitchen cabinet place My friend owns a kitchen cabinet place, so he actually uses the lumber to make the the butcher block countertops.
Okay, yeah.
So I actually did butcher block countertops at my place, and then I was just like, I have too much of it. So I'm like, I thought I would make a dent in some of them, and it just doesn't work that way. So
Really?
yeah.
So generally, now you're doing 3 different styles of paddles. What what type of time frame does it take to produce one of these? I seen on Instagram today you posted the second step in your building process of you making canoe paddle blanks, right?
Yep. So because it's like it's very hands-on the way I approach things. There's a lot of factors in play here. It has to really do with how do I feel that day? Did I eat enough? Do I have enough calories in me to keep going? That kind of, it's very athletic in a way. I know it sounds really weird. It's like you're just making canoe paddles, but trust me, when you're grabbing one of these things and you're wielding this thing for a few hours, you'll feel the burn. I'll trust it. It'll make you honest. So it's not hours to me. It's not about hours. It's how many can I make a day. And on average, I'll make 5 a day. But I have had times my record right now is 9 in one day.
Wow.
But the next day I didn't feel so good. So
the arms start feeling like spaghetti noodles, right?
Yeah, basically you just get an arm when you get the arm pump really bad, it's really difficult to keep going. So you're kind of like hydrating and breathing, trying to get as much air in there, and it gets really intense. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe a couple hours of paddle.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive because I've got mine here, and I'll pull these up for show and tell in a bit. But I've got my Norseman that I just recently picked up off of Milan, and I've also got a Thompson, which is equally as beautiful. Very nice, very nice. The craftsmanship that are into these things is you do nice work there, Milan.
Thank you, sir.
Very nice work. I see a question here from Gary Camper 69 is asking, do your paddles come in different shaft lengths? We'll actually get into that. We'll talk about sizing canoe paddles. And I can vouch that the method that Milan has for this does work, because when I receive my paddles, perfect. Perfect, bang on. Let's talk first about the styles that you're offering right now. You got the Norseman, you got the Ottertail, and the Thompson. Can you tell us a bit about both, what the differences are and the performance?
Sure. So I'm going to bust out a couple terms that I like using. And one is mid-range and bottom end. So the feel that, and that's how I kind of go with how the paddles feel. So what does that mean? So mid-range, let me just grab this guy here. This is the Norseman, one of mine that I just kind of beat up and everything. So the Norseman here, what mid-range basically means is that, there we go. So I guess the mass, the most area of the canoe paddle is focused in the middle of the canoe paddle, or in the blade itself. So if you'll see here, it's tapered a lot more at the tip. And then of course at the throat, it's tapered, but right in the middle of the paddle, most of the girth and the width is right here. So what does that do? So what it does is it gives you a very neutral feel to the canoe paddle. So you don't feel like it's grabbing right at the bottom and like you're kind of scooping the water. It's just nicely, it has just a really nice middle of the road, mid-range feel to it. So if we grab this guy over here, this is the Thompson, and of course it's well worn as well. Don't do what I do, folks. Take care of your paddles. This is these are ongoing experiments, as always with me. So this is the Thompson. This is our beaver tail. And you can see that it has that really nice teardrop shape to it. So it's tapered at the top end, at the throat here. Throat essentially means where the blade meets the shaft. And then we're just going to go all the way, and it tapers, and then it ends with a really soft, nice radius here. And most of the area, most of the width, the girth of the paddle is right down here. So over here has more area than over here. Okay, so what does that do? That's the one that has the bottom end feel. So when you're paddling it, it actually feels like it's grabbing the bottom of the water, like it's kind of scooping it up. So that's how you're getting that bottom end feel. So now that we have those terms in our minds, we can go ahead and talk about the 3 offerings. So why don't I have an otter tail anywhere here? I have an otter tail, but it's in the white, and what that means is it's not finished yet. Do you want me to grab that, or do you want me to?
You can if you want, but if it's not convenient, don't worry about it.
We'll just.
Here, I can actually pop it on screen here again as that picture.
Sure.
There you go.
So the otter tail in the middle there. So that again is a canoe paddle that I would say is a mid-range feel. The only difference really between the mid-range of the otter tail and the Norseman is that the otter tail kind of it starts off soft and then it goes really strong, right in I guess like the 12 o'clock region of your power stroke. So that's why I still classify it as a mid-range paddle, even though it kind of when you dip it in, you'll see what I'm talking about. You got to buy one. Everybody that's watching, just buy an otter tail from us, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
There you go. Yeah, that's the kinds of sales.
That's horrible. But honestly, it's so that's the way that one goes. But so now that we kind of have that idea in our minds, what differentiates them? So the otter tail, obviously, it's a 28.5-inch paddle blade. So the blade itself is 28.5 inches, which is, quite a length on a blade for a canoe paddle. But it's designed like that so it can kind of get deeper in the water, and it just it's a lot thinner. So it's the thinnest blade that we have. It's 5.5 inches in width. So if it was any wider, it would just be too much. It would kind of rack up your shoulders, and it wouldn't be a good time. So the sleek slenderness of it and the length allows it to push a lot of water. So don't let the width stop you there. The only downside to the otter tail, well, there's a few downsides to an otter tail. Let's talk about those. So you need some deep water. If you're going in at a put in or a takeout, you're gonna kind of be a little frustrated, especially if it's like a long sandy shoal that you have to deal with. Those are really annoying. But I mean, you can just grab into the sand and kind of push on. But rocks, not so much. That's not always fun. But so that's one of the downfalls. The other one is that the otter tail is actually, it's not a beginner's paddle. A beginner really when I mean a beginner, I'm talking about like a pure newbie that's never paddled before. They're gonna struggle with that paddle just because you need to have the finesse with it to get it as efficient as possible. As soon as you make any abrupt changes with an otter tail, it can buck you around, and it can spook you. It can spook you really good. So that's why that's the canoe paddle that. When you have a few paddles on your belt, then look at that at least our otter tail. I'm not sure about anybody else's, but ours is a beast. So you got to buckle up, and tighten up before you get into one of those. Now,
I was always a beaver tail type of paddler, right?
Yep.
That was my go-to. And probably around 3 years ago, I did invest in an otter tail, and there is quite a considerable difference. But the otter tail quickly became my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I love the otter tail. It's actually on our website right now. It says that the Norseman is our best seller. I think that has changed. Last time I spoke with Chris at Novacraft, which is our distributor, And we can get into that a little later. Chris is the president and owner of Novacraft Canoe, for anybody that doesn't know. Wonderful guy. And the last time I spoke with him, it sounded like the Ottertail was the hot ticket item. Now, let's talk about the Norseman. So the Norseman is similar to the Ottertail, and it's also similar to the Beavertail. It's kind of the middle of the road. So it's basically, if you could own only one H&H, this is the one you want right here. Why is that? Why is it that this paddle is so, like, I highly recommend it with so much? Well, first of all, it's shorter, okay, and it has quite a bit of it. So the shortness, it's 24 3/4 of an inch, the blade length, and across the width is 6 inches. So it's got enough power here to just go all day long, but the mid-range feel is why it's so special. And the reason is because if you were to compare it with the Beavertail, the Beavertail is going to fatigue you much quicker. So this guy here, even though they kind of look similar, this guy here is gonna make you an honest paddler a lot quicker than the Norseman. And this thing's just gonna fall. We'll just put it down.
Think a paddle guy, you'd have a nice canoe rack or canoe.
Yeah, I know. That's actually downstairs. I do have one right in front of me, but then I got to go off frame. You don't want that. You want it to look at my pretty face, don't you?
There we go. There you go.
So where was I? So what's really cool about the Norseman is that it has this like smaller radius over here, and then of course the taper is a little more abrupt. So you really have that mid-range feel. It pushes a lot of water, and it's just a paddle that, just because of that mid-range feel, you just keep going with it, and you can lighten up on your cadence. You can go real hard with it, and it does everything really well. I have customers that have run rapids with them, and they've said how effective it is there. Not saying this is for whitewater. I'm just saying that if you're, going down, like a nice meandering river, and by chance there's a bit of swifts or something, or like even like class 1, you can probably get away with a little bit of Norseman action. If it catches you by surprise. But I just wanted to talk one more thing. Back to the tip here. The tip. Because see how it has this like really nice radius. It's a bit sharper than the Ottertail. So that radius allows it to be actually a pretty quiet paddle, given the girth here. So if you're into stalking animals for photography, or if you're a fisherman and you're early season and you're trying to get up to a nice shoal or something where you're trying to get whatever it is, trout, whatever it is. This is a really good paddle for that still, because you can get up to some really nasty areas. And as well, another cool thing about it is it slices through lily pads really well, which I noticed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last weekend, I think it was, or the weekend before. Anyways, and I was just noticing, like, every time I take it, I'm like, man, this thing just really eats up those pads. And everybody, you're going to run into those situations where you're going to kind of get into the junky stuff sometimes, and this thing just is a workhorse. So that's that. But
wish I had that a couple weeks ago when I was on my big canoe trip there, and
it's just and what's funny about the Norseman? Just one last thing. The Norseman was made by accident. So I was trying to make an Ottertail. A Beavertail, and every single time I was coming up with a Beavertail design, they weren't really that good. And then I made this one, and I just had it in passing, just so I had like a comparison view of when I was testing paddles in the river down the road. I would take like the Beavertail option that I was trying to come up with, and then I had the Norseman with me. And then I would just go back and forth. And every time I'd grab it, Hi, little guy.
Future paddler. Sorry, I had to interrupt here. My grandson's
it's
over
okay.
and he's getting ready for bed, and he had to come say goodnight to Papa. Say hi, everybody. Can you say hi? No.
Oh no, a little shy.
Okay. Night, Ollie. See you later.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so when I was kind of doing the comparisons, it just I told Mira that I want to have it in there, and Mira's like, "Well, we're gonna have too many like beaver tail-ish type options." And I was like, "This one's special. It's got to stay in there." And thank God that I went with my gut. Now, moving along to the beaver tail. So the beaver tail is the I mean, everybody's used to beaver tail. Whenever you go to an outfitter, this is the kind of, I mean, if you're not getting the plastic paddle jobbies, you can get something like this, or you're going to get those like square looking things. Who knows what those are, but what's cool about the Thompson, because our beaver tail, we call it the Thompson, is that, let me bring it up again, it's interesting. So let's just talk quickly specs for everybody out there. It's 26 1/4 inches in length by 5 7/8 in width. So what you're thinking right away is, why is it only 5 7/8 in width and the Norseman is 6 inches? Well, here's why. So the length itself is quite a little, it has more length to it than most beaver tails. Traditionally, you're like 24 inches and about 24 inches, maybe a little less, maybe a little more than that. I increased it by a couple inches, and I squared off the sides of the Thompson here. And the reason why I squared them off, and when I say squared them off, instead of it being like really have a really strong radius here, what I mean is like I just kind of eased that out. And why I did that was I wanted a bit more mid-range to it rather than just like a really big, heavy hauler kind of deep diving, scooping machine. The reason I did that was so if you are a beaver tail paddler and you don't want to like kind of muck around grabbing a different paddle for, you know, that lake, and then you've got to, the condition kind of went up, so you can kind of use this for a while, and it's going to be, you know, not as taxing. It has still a lot of power to it, and it's really my paddle of choice if things kind of get a little wacky out there, and I'm kind of getting nervous and I just want to get off the water. I'm going to grab that beaver tail, and that thing's going to do really well. And there's nothing wrong with any of the choices. You really can't go wrong. But if you are looking for the paddle that's gonna, you know, push the most amount of water and kind of, you know, keep taking it, you're gonna then want to go with the Thompson, the beaver tail of ours. But if you're just looking for that all arounder, it's hard to beat the Norseman or even the Ottertail. But mind you, with the Ottertail, you gotta be you gotta be mindful of your. You have to have really good awareness of your blade, and then you're good.
Cool. But if we take a couple questions, we've got a lot of questions here popping into the chat, as I kind of figured there would, because there is a lot of questions around selecting a paddle that's right for a person, right? Yeah. Let's see here. Joshua is asking, do you offer any modified elongated otter tails like the old Ray Kettlewell designs?
No, the closest we have, I've had this question a few times. The closest we have is the otter tail. You know what? Just I'm just going to grab one over here. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know it's not finished yet, but back up a bit here.
I have a hard time getting that one on the screen because
I know. Sorry, let me. Do you see the difference there? Obviously, this one has a bit of the sapwood there, which I actually I try to find that sometimes. I think that looks so cool. letting the woods speak like that and being unique like that is super awesome. I'm into that big time. Anyway, sorry. So that's the difference there. This thing is quite elongated. I think there was a kettlewell that was like 32 inches long, something like that. I think, is that what he's talking about? I think they called it like the quill or whatever like that.
That's called sapwood?
It's not like it is, but sorry. So the red stuff is called hardwood, and then the white stuff is called sapwood. So sometimes what I'll do is if I have a piece of cherry right here. Sorry guys, give me a sec. So
that's part of him being in his shop, is he can show us this stuff.
So if you can see, sometimes there's a bit of sapwood here, and then there's the hardwood. So that's the red stuff. That's the stuff that's gonna get like burgundy, and then this stuff here will get like yellowish, like white with some yellow in it. I try to keep some of that in there, and why? Because I don't see that ever at stores. Like, so before I was about to buy a canoe paddle, or before I was about to make a canoe paddle, I was going to just buy one, and they all kind of look the same, and there was really no draw there. And then of course, like being the woodworker I am, I had to do it.
Adds character, right?
Yeah, but I think that it looks so cool, and it adds that character, and it's unique to you. So you're not going to look like, the same guy down, with that paddle or whatever. So it's like, it's really, it's yours, and you'll always know it's yours.
Yep. My Outdoor Adventure is asking, what paddle do you recommend for paddling a duck pond?
Well, Dave, just did that on the weekend, and Norseman or the Thompson. That is the hands down answer right there.
You know that guy, don't you?
I do. I was actually with him this weekend.
Hey, Dave! I thought you mentioned him in the green room there. Somebody was asking what you're drinking there, if you're drinking moonshine, but because you did say top shelf.
Yeah. I have water and Muskoka Brewery Tread Lightly, so I'm the lightweight tonight. So
cool. Julie B is asking, can you use all three of these paddles for paddling in front and the back of a canoe?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. For sure. The otter tail though is really good as a stern canoe or a stern paddler. So when I'm with my brother, we are a combination, and my brother and I are we love each other, but we freaking hate each other too. So when we're out there, you're gonna hear us because we're bickering all the time. And then you'll hear words like, your cadence is all wrong, all that, like we're just bickering. He will always run an otter tail in the back, and I'll do the Norseman in the front. And it's just, that's the combination. It works well with us. We tried everything. He tried the Thompson in the back. He always goes for an otter tail. No matter what condition it is though, I will say that he doesn't care if he's in 2 feet of water, 6 inches, or 20 feet of water. He's always going to use an otter tail. That's just the way he is. You're not going to change him. So, and I know there's a lot of paddlers out there that are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yes, you can use any which one in the bow or the stern. But if I were to market it and tell you what's I guess what would be my preference? Stern with the otter tail. And if I was solo, I really like using the otter tail solo. It's a lot of fun to use.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for scooching back into the camera there. I thought you were going to.
I know. I'm looking. So I have these little pads that I sit down or I use to stand, so I don't fatigue myself so much. Here we go. There we are.
So here's another question from somebody else that I know has, or I believe has, a Hunter and Harris paddle, and that's Alexis Outdoors. Talk about the way the water moves off your paddle versus a flat paddle or flat profile. The way it's thickest in the middle and goes thin towards the edge. Haven't seen others do this, and it's flawless. I noticed that about my paddles, how they're nicely tapered from.
Oh yeah. Okay, because I'm like, what is Karina off talking about now? Yeah. Now, okay, I see what she's saying. All right, so she's talking about some like in the industry, you're going to hear this word called dehedral. So essentially, it's the spine. So it's this here. It's the shaft. And it starts off right here. The shaft basically goes from the throat all the way down to where am I?
I'll put you full screen again here so you can show that.
So from the tip to the throat, our shaft kind of runs through there. And if I can catch the light,
actually, you do right there. You got it perfect. Yeah, I can see it.
You can see that it goes all the way down to the bottom. This is really cool. I'm glad that she brought this up because I might have just glazed right through it. But this is what makes an H&H an H&H. So, so the spine, I call this the spine, and it does a lot of things. So let's go over the first one. First of all, it stiffens the paddle up. So what you'll find is H&H canoe paddles are very, I'm not going to say very stiff, they're stiffer than other people's offerings. And why is that? Because a lot of paddle manufacturers, what they'll do to add flex is right about here. So from the midsection, sometimes even up to about here, it's completely flat, and it's just a flappy blade. There's a few things that I don't like about that. We actually did make them like that. So if you have a 2017 model, and then I want to say just a Scotian 2018, you would have had that. But after that, we departed from that, and now we just do it like this. So what was I saying? So it stiffens it up, okay? And the other thing is that when you're going through the water, so if you're going to do like a box stroke, you know, I know it's not politically correct, but we still call it the Indian stroke. Hopefully one day we'll change that, and someone will kind of set a precedent there. So it's going to slice right through the water because the water kind of goes through. Think about like an airplane, like an airfoil just going right through the air. It's just like, it's so smooth, it's perfect. And that's what that does. It gives the water somewhere to go, and it doesn't make it as confused. So our otter tail is just like a sharp knife just going right through. Now, that doesn't just happen on the otter tail. It happens with the Norseman, and we do it as well with the Thompson. All of our paddles have that spine all the way through. So if you have an H&H at home or you're watching right now, put your hand right at the bottom here and feel that, and you'll feel a little bit of a hump. It's there, trust me. I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't there. So the other thing that this does is it is actually it. Sorry. The little spider just had to. Sorry, man. I'm just like, whoa, that's a big guy. All right. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so the other thing that this does is it actually inhibits warpage. So if this paddle was completely flat here, your paddle could kind of get a little wonky after time, and that little extra girth there helps it not be able to let wood do its thing. So not only does it stiffen it, it helps the water kind of part around it. It gives it somewhere to go, and as well stops warpage. And
that probably would help relieve your paddle stroke a bit too, making that water flow a little easier, right? At the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm telling you, it cuts like a knife.
Wow, that's cool. So now these three designs that you're using now, have you had these three designs even like since day one, or have you had any other styles that you've offered?
Yeah. So those three have been with us from the beginning. There have been other models that the Thompson's been through the ringer. So we've had it as a 5-ply ash shaft, which I have right here. So sorry to do this. I mean, that's what the Thompson used to look like. So can't get these anymore. So if you have them, hold on to them. Resin tip at the bottom and everything. So that was the way we did those. And of course the Norseman was done like that and stuff. We used to have a few bench shaft canoe paddles. Some people might remember the long tail. Then we had like one that was, a more affordable version of the long tail, which was the Eider, because the long tail was all black walnut and just a bit of basswood. It was very expensive, and I kind of felt bad because I was like, it was at a retail price of $300. Not everybody could afford that, and I understand that. And so I wanted to make something that was the same, but just plain Jane. And of course, we used to have another canoe paddle called the Jackson, and that thing was a beast. I don't know if you've ever heard of David Lee, Pastor Paddler.
Yep.
He's been with helping me from the beginning. Basically, if when I can't go out and test stuff, I'd be like, Dave, can you take these? And he was more than happy to take a lot of my weird, wacky idea paddles. Some were good, some were bad, and the Jackson was one of the good ones. And so he did that. But yeah, I think I feel like I'm rambling again. So you got to stop me.
It's okay. No, it's cool. You know what? We are getting close to our 8 o'clock swag giveaway, but
yeah.
I want a couple of quick answer questions here, maybe that we can get through. Then after the swag giveaway, I'll invite some guests up and to ask you some questions, and at the same time, we'll talk a bit about sizing, oiling and varnishing your canoe paddles, or varnishing, either or, and then maybe some maintenance tips, how to repair, how to care for your paddle. Really quick, somebody on the Facebook feed, Canoe Taripa, is asking, have you ever considered making an old-time double blade canoe paddle, 102 to 108 inches?
No, I not into the double blade stuff, but
because there are some double bladers in here. If that's
no, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's too much to wield around this 400 square foot shop. So
yeah, cool.
Sorry.
Awesome. Okay, you know what I'm going to do then is I'm going to share the link. If I hit the invite button like that, and I will drop that into the comment box. Control V. Join us. And if anybody would like to come on up and ask Milan a question about paddles, now would be the time to do it. So you guys get yourself set up. All I ask is that if you do pop into the chat, please make sure you turn off your YouTube volume. Just go by the volume on StreamYard only so that we could avoid that feedback issue, which pops eardrums sometimes. That would be great. For those of you that have been on panel before, you already know that. Milan, I'm going to drop you down into the basement for a minute. Might be a great time to refresh your moonshine and whatever else, and I'll have you back up in a minute or two.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So I'm learning a lot more about these paddles, and like I say, I'm very, very proud to actually have 2 Hunter & Harris paddles. I can't wait to get them into the water. They truly are works of art, and you know what? He is a very, very, very good craftsman when it comes to making these paddles. They're beautiful. They're just beautiful. Anyways, so for tonight's swag giveaway, we will be giving away the usual. It is tonight's swag giveaway is actually sponsored by Algonquin Outfitters. And as per the agreement, I will show you a little bit about Algonquin Outfitters. Yes, Algonquin Outfitters celebrating 60 years in business. Be sure to check out their huge giveaway that they have going on. Links are in the description below. Anyways, for tonight's question, let's get that on screen. What you'll need to do is send me your answer by Saturday at 11 p.m., okay, to coasprize@gmail.com. And tonight's question is very simple. We've mentioned it like 10 times in this episode. What year was Hunter and Harris Paddles founded? Okay, a couple numbers came up, but the official year that they actually started their business. So if you can send that to me at coasprize@gmail.com, you'll have a chance at winning a Canoehound Adventures prize pack and then a few goodies from Algonquin Outfitters themselves. So always good stuff. You can't win if you don't have a ticket. So please do get your answers into us. Anyways, with that being said, I'll leave that up on screen for a minute and I will bring Milan back up here and we'll get into a little bit more about paddles and things that we should be knowing about these things. Hey, welcome back.
Hello.
Okay, so we talked a bit about materials and we talked about the styles that you're offering right now. The great myth, oil or varnish. What is in your opinion, what is the best finish for a canoe paddle?
Well, like the traditional bare bones part of me says oil all the way. But it's just like you get caught at the crossroads all the time. The durability of the varnish is so much better than oil. But for the mindful paddler and someone that like just wants to feel as connected as possible to their surroundings, and why wouldn't you be? I mean, you're in God's country when you're out there. The oil is just the way to go. It's the most organic and it gives you that connection like nothing else out there. And that's why our paddles right now just come with oil. Now, when we did make the varnished canoe paddles, the grips always were oiled. So case in point, this guy here, this is the Jackson, by the way. You never know, this might be coming back, people.
That's a pretty paddle.
It is, and it is incredible to use. But see this here, this is oiled. So I'm gonna bring it up there so you can see, you can kind of see that hard line right there. That's all varnished there, but the grip is oiled. And what's really cool about that with these types of canoe paddles is that you get that waft of cedar and walnut in your nose from time to time, because when you're sizing your canoe paddle, you shouldn't be up here, when you're paddling, it should be somewhere around here. So you'll always get that waft. But yeah, I just think that oil is the way to go. It's really easy. Everyone out there can oil their own canoe paddle. It doesn't take much. When it comes to varnish, there's a bit of technique, and it can be discouraging to some people as well. The smell is really off-putting. You have to wear a respirator. You have to do it outdoors. But if you do it outdoors and you kind of muff up a little bit, little tiny debris and particles can go on your canoe paddle and everything. I'm talking about the refinishing part and the maintenance part right now. I kind of jumped into that. Sorry about that. But
no, that's cool.
That's my take on it.
Okay. These two two canoe paddles I got off you, I was mentioning to you in the green room, they're the first canoe paddles I've ever had that are oil finished.
Yeah.
Always had the varnished ones, always, after trips and they all get scuffed up and scratched up, give them a light sanding and then another coat of varnish. And I've been able to maintain for a long time like that, right?
The other thing that you're going to get with the oil paddle, and you're going to notice this because you're going out in October, and you're going to get those cooler mornings and your hands are going to be cold, and it's really, really nice to be holding an oiled paddle when it's those cold days. When you have a varnished paddle, it's going to feel cooler. The varnish just kind of does that. It doesn't give you that connection to that warmth that the wood can give you as an insulator. And believe it or not, it does do a world of difference. That's why even like I said, like the grips on our the varnished ones were always left oiled, so you kind of got a little help there. But
and what type of oil do you recommend? Because I know there's like hemp oil, there's boiled linseed, there's like a few different oils that you can use, right?
So this is not alcohol. So I have a whole bunch here. Yeah, I know. I have a whole bunch of stuff here. We're going to go over some of it. Why don't we? This right here is your standard boiled linseed oil. Okay, can't go wrong with it. It's like the standard staple. You can get it at any hardware store. It's really, really easy to find, and it works really, really well. I just need to go off on a little tangent just for a second. There's going to be people out there and that are going to say, well, oiling with linseed oil is gonna you're gonna get mildew on your canoe paddle. It's gonna turn all black and blah blah blah. Yes and no. So here's what's happening is if you don't take care of your paddle, and all you have to do after you're finished using your canoe paddle is wipe it down. Just wipe it down and put it away, and you're good to go. None of that's going to happen to your canoe paddle. The reason why that happens is all the particulate and everything, all the organic matter that is in the lakes, and yes, it's everywhere. That's why we filter our water when we're out there. That stuff gets stuck on the paddle, and then if it gets stuck there and you don't wipe it down, you don't dry it, that's going to manifest, and that's what you're seeing. You're not seeing this invasion that's eating up your canoe paddle. It will if you don't take care of it eventually. But if you're mindful and you're cleaning it, you're not going to have that problem. So just so you know, that doesn't matter if you're going to use tongue oil, hemp oil, something with milticides in it or anything. It's going to happen because it's organic particulate that you're picking up when you're out there. So please wipe your paddle down when you're done with it, especially the oiled ones. And it's going to make a world of a difference. And as well, don't store it in a cool, damp place. Now, back to the oils. I have to do it because if I don't get that point across, I'm going to forget about it. Boiled linseed oil, fantastic stuff. Takes about 24 hours to dry. You put it on thin. You don't put it on too thick. And you wipe off the excess about 15 minutes later. Tongue oil, same type of application. This stuff here, this is pure tongue oil. All right, this stuff is the liable brand. Tongue oil. The difference really between tongue oil and linseed oil is basically just the color. This is going to be fairly light. It's not going to do much as far as like darkening the wood. This, however, the linseed oil will. It's going to richen it up a lot. It's going to give it a nice amber color. So that's something to keep in mind as well. This stuff here, very expensive and kind of hard to find. So if you think that you could just go to your regular hardware store and buy tongue oil, what you're most likely buying is something that says tongue oil finish. Stay away from that because that is actually a varnish. And what that means is it has tongue oil, maybe about 15-20% of it. The rest is like a polyurethane resin inside. And then it's just thinned out with a bunch of mineral spirits. So it's going to have a smell to it. This stuff here doesn't really have much smell to it. It's very low. It has no VOCs, I think. Okay, this right here is something that you can make yourself. So this is the best of both worlds, all right? So now we're kind of departing the traditional oils. Now we're starting to get into an oil varnish mix, okay? So this right here, this little vial is what we call tongue tane. And what does that mean? It's linseed oil, tongue oil, pure tongue oil, and urethane. So you take some urethane varnish, all equal parts. So a third urethane varnish, a third linseed oil, and a third tongue oil. You mix that together and you can cut it a little bit. Cutting means you just thin it out. That's what that means. And you cut it, thin it with some turpentine, or you can use linseed oil. So this stuff is stinky, but it works. It adds a little more protection, and it's gonna. If you're looking for a shinier finish, this is ling tongue twisting. So linseed oil, tongue oil, tane. I don't know why they say tane. I guess tane sounds better than thane. This is something that a lot of people can find. This is a really cool product, and I'm not endorsed by any of these guys. I just use this stuff. This is called True Oil. Okay, it's from It's actually gun stock refinishing oil. It dries incredibly fast. So here's a quick tip. If you got to go on a trip tomorrow, let's say you're watching me and you're like, geez, I forgot to oil my paddle and you got to be out there tomorrow. This is the only thing out there that will do it for you. It is a proprietary blend of God knows what's in it. It's probably not good for you, but it is incredible. It dries with it to the touch in about 5 minutes, and it's ready to go in just a couple hours. So this stuff right here, where do you buy it? You could buy that stuff at like if you guys have like a Cabela's or a Bass Pro Shops around, or even Walmart. I've seen it in there, and I've also seen it in Canadian Tire at certain Canadian Tires that sell like firearms, that kind of stuff. Incredible stuff. It works really well, and if you put enough coats on, it will look mirror smooth like glass. The really cool part about it though is it still feels like you have an oil finish. It's just not practical for a paddle like a paddle manufacturer to put that finish on your canoe paddle. But something to note if you guys are ever into it. This is also another thing that's similar to True Oil, but it takes a lot longer to dry. But now, mind you, I'm not showing you anything that has UV protection. Okay, none of the products that I've shown you have UV protection. But this is just your Minwax White Bond Poly. You can get this stuff like anybody makes it, and it's essentially just polyurethane that's thinned out a lot with a little bit more oil and mineral spirits. And you wipe that on, and what's cool is it gives you the protection of the polyurethane, but it also gives that nice oil finish. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Same again with that Lintung tank that I was showing you guys that you can make yourself. And literally, you buy everything to make this, and this is like 7 years old, and it's still going strong. And I have liters of this stuff, and I will guarantee you I will be passing on to my kids, which are probably just going to take it to the dump station. Okay. So
what's on my paddles?
Linseed oil.
Linseed? Okay.
So this is what we use on all our paddles at Hunter Harris is linseed oil. It's double boiled linseed oil. We don't use exactly this brand. The stuff that we use is a lot darker. It's like this color, but it's you can use any linseed oil to refinish your paddle. And
you could use one type and then use a different type at another time.
Yeah. So if you can't get linseed oil, you can use tongue oil on there. You can use True Oil on your paddle. You can use White Bond Poly on your paddle. You can use anything as long as your paddle is dry and dust free, lint free, all that stuff. Anything. You can even. I can't grab it out. Okay, whatever. Behind me is a can of water-based spar varnish. And I said water-based. And yes, you could put it on top as long as your paddle is completely dry and not gummy or anything. So if you got a canoe paddle from me, or from H&H, sorry, you buy it at the store and you take it home. You're like, oh, I don't like this. I want varnish on, but all I have is this water-based spar varnish, urethane stuff. You can put that on there. But what I would recommend if you're going to go that route is to seal it first with something. And I would seal it with this stuff right here.
You need a camera crew with you there.
I know. Shellac. This is it has to be de-waxed shellac. De-waxed shellac will work as a sealer for any type of finish, really. But only the can comes like this, or you have to buy it at like a specialty hardware store, and it has to say de-waxed on it. If you use the waxed stuff, if you put a urethane on top of that, it will kind of flake off over time. So you don't want to do that because you'll be getting upset and you'll yell at me if I didn't tell you that.
Cool. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got Matt in the basement here, who I think wants to come up and ask a question. Make sure you're drinking out of the right bottle too. Hi, Matt. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Cheers to you. Thanks for coming on panel to ask a question. What have you got for us?
So I got a couple maker questions, I guess. So I got a little creative and decided to make my own paddle from a single piece of ash.
Yeah.
And I had a few challenges. I was hoping maybe you could help me with the next one I do. So given that this is ash, how do you gauge how thick you want your handle to be in order to push water without the risk of breaking it? And I'll just belt out my other question. How do you measure both sides of the spine on your blade to make sure that they're evenly shaved down with the spoke shave?
Okay. All right. So I have a really short-term memory and totally forgot what the first question was.
No, it's all good.
Sorry. No, I got it. It's the shot.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just 3 hours of sleep for like days on end because of the kids. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right. So I'm just going to grab this cherry paddle for a second. All right. So if your shaft is, you probably can't see it here. You know what? I'll just explain it instead. If your shaft is got a really nice straight grain, and I mean like picture perfect straight grain, you can go pretty thin. So what is it at right now? It looks like it's about 1.25 inches at this point. No, it might be thinner than that. I don't know how big your hands are. I'm just like, I'm assuming. Oh yeah, bring the old speed square into the equation here. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So inch and 3/16, inch and 1/8. Okay. If you know what, I wouldn't go any further than that. That's unless you want to. But I would just round it out a little bit more, and Bob's your uncle there. If you're, is it weight that's primarily the issue right now? Because ash is about 42 pounds per cubic foot, so it's pretty heavy. And that's like dried at like 8%. Sorry, I got technical. I do that.
No, it's all good. Weight's not an issue at this point. I just want to make sure it's still at where it is. It'll still have the strength without
ash is incredibly strong. It's a really strong wood. I mean, there's a reason why they make axe handles and hammer handles out of it. In fact, back in the day before I was making paddles, my hammer was I always preferred ash. Whenever you bought the stilettos, it would always come with a hickory handle. I would throw those out. I would make an ash one, and it would last me forever. You are in good hands. You have nothing to worry about that. As far as the spine and how to do that, I do it by feel now, and all I do is I'll kind of always eye it. I'll look down the center and I'll be like, oh, okay, that needs to just kind of be whittled a little more left or right. But because I'm more production than you are, what I do is if you didn't already, you make I had these like right here so I can show everybody how this goes. Yep, right there.
Sorry, guys, it's still a work in progress. I got a lot of sanding to do still.
Hey, I give you credit for trying to make one. That's awesome.
So you see on here, do you see that line right there? So So this line is uniform all the way around the paddle, and that's kind of my reference. But what I do, because I'm in more of a production setting, is I make a predictable taper on both sides. So this taper right here that I have is identical on both sides, and I do not touch the center of this paddle now. This paddle has the spine that I want. All I'm going to do is remove all the wood that isn't the canoe paddle at this point. So I'm going to now shape it all the way down, being mindful of leaving the center the heck alone. And that is how I do it. So you can still get away with that. What I would do was I would put it on a bench, and I would take a measurement on top and see what I have on top. Or actually, you would probably only be able to do the measurement at the bottom. And then jot that down. So at the beginning of your canoe paddle, like up over here, you would take like a measurement. Let's say like you start 3 inches from the throat, and it's like 1/8 of an inch on one side. Sorry, you would be measuring at the bottom. Say this is on a flat plane. Go 3 inches and make a mark on your paddle at 3 inches, and then make a mark from this part here to the bottom of your tabletop. And if that's 1/8 of an inch in the center, then it's 3/8 of an inch over here, then I would flip it over and I would see if I had an 1/8 of an inch over on this side and 3/8 on this side, provided that your paddle is straight to begin with. I hope I made that clear.
Yeah, I definitely have some books to read on the subject, but I'm hoping to improve with every paddle I make, right?
Oh yeah. Listen, my first few were beautiful pieces of kindling. So
yeah, beautiful
it is what it is,
and that's why I leave this to the professionals.
Yeah, you got to keep going with it, keep plugging with it, and good on you for doing it. But if it doesn't work out,
I'll come see you.
Go grab an exchange. We'll take care of it.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you coming up. If anybody else wants to come on up here, everybody's being a little shy tonight, but I will throw the link in there one more time. Well, I just did actually. So on the topic of the handle itself, there, we'll get into sizing, but with the two paddles that I have here, I noticed that there's a big difference in the diameter of the grips. The Thompson is really thick and beefy, whereas the Norseman seems to be much thinner. Is that by design?
So what you got there was the Norseman was new old stock from 2019, 2020.
Yep.
So that's why you got that one. We've departed from that and made them a bit thicker for 2021, and that's primarily because I personally, this is always like Hunter and Harris's take on canoe paddles. I find that when it fills the hand, your hands don't have enough time and enough room to keep rubbing on the shaft to produce calluses or blisters, which eventually could turn into calluses if you're out there long enough. But so that's what I found. So when they were really skinny and contoured, you could produce blisters a little bit easier that way. I think that from all my testing, because that's kind of what I always like doing is just testing out different grip designs and shaft diameters and everything. And I think I've kind of come up with a sweet spot that works. And now that's not just like me testing it out. That's me I have product testers that I send paddles out to. I'm like, please just let me know. And then I just listen to everything they say, and then I'm like, okay, I'll make a little adjustment there and whatnot. And so we kind of get it where it is. But that's why you're seeing that difference from that design. But I will say this, that the 54 will be slightly thinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that kind of brings us into sizing a canoe paddle. There seems to be a lot of confusion around as to, somebody walking into, whether it's Canadian Tire or going to Sale or going to different places to purchase a paddle, or through yourself, about what, how to size the shaft and stuff like that. Everybody says, oh, you sit in a chair and you hold your hands at a right angle and it should be this to this.
Yeah.
You sized me for my two canoe paddles. You asked me a ton of questions, and when you sent these things to me, they're like bang on. So what's your take on that?
Mira and I are big fans of sizing because through the torso length. The torso length, I feel, is really the deciding factor of what size of canoe paddle you're going to use. And the only reason I go with the torso length over, the hand over, and then you got to make the 90 or the 90 over here and all that, is because the canoe doesn't care if you have big arms, long arms, short arms, whatever. But the torso length is as close as you're going to get without being in your canoe to size a canoe paddle. So that's why it lends itself quite nicely. So the way you would size a canoe paddle is you go, we have a great sizing guide. Go on hunterharris.ca and then scroll all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see a little link that says sizing. Click on that and it'll go through the steps. But for everybody that's watching, the steps are that you would make note of which canoe paddle that you're interested in from H&H. So let's say that it is the Norseman. The Norseman blade length So you'll go on there and it'll say Norseman, and it'll give you the blade length and whatnot. So the blade length for the Norseman is 24 inches or 24 3/4 of an inch. So then what you would do is you would go to your chair, and I'm on a really cushioned chair right now, so it's not going to work. You need to, excuse me, sorry. You need to be sitting on a chair that's rigid, that's, like any like solid wood chair, anything like a bar stool, whatever, as long as it doesn't have cushion in it, because it's going to throw you off probably by an inch or two. So you sit on that and you take your canoe paddle. This one's way too long for me. But anyways, you would, I can't illustrate it as well as I'd like to because I'm not on the right chair, but essentially, you would put, the bottom of the canoe paddle here, but because you don't have that with you, you would do it this way. You would take your tape measure. That was the one thing that I had on me. And you would take your tape measure and you'd put it between your legs, right on the seat, okay? And then you would take this measurement right here. So this measurement is, you would take the measurement by the mid-forehead. So you put your finger here. It really helps if you have someone with you. And my finger says 33 inches, okay?
Mine too.
Yeah. So wow, good job. So you got 33 inches. So you got to do a little bit of math now. So you got to go 24 plus 33. And for me, doing quick math, that's 57 3/4 of an inch. So a 57-inch canoe paddle from a Norseman is what I'm looking for, okay? And this one is 57-inch, and it fits me like a glove. Now, it's really hard to do it because of this chair, but trust me, it fits me. And you know what? I like it, but it sounds weird, but I kind of like the 54 for the Norseman. And the reason why is I like to kneel in the canoe quite often. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind. And that's also in the sizing guide, is that we make mention if you're kneeling or if you have seats that are really low, like in a like a pack boat kind of thing, you're going to want to shorten it. So go down a size. The other,
if I could interrupt really quick, now that was the Norseman I got based on your measurements. Yeah, I should have had a 57-incher, but because I plan the Norseman, I plan on using with my Swift pack boat when I'm single blading it.
Yeah,
we discussed that and how that works, and I ended up with a 54-inch, and I think it's going to be. I think that's going to be right there for me.
Yeah. And if it's not, we can get you there. But I think you're going to be bang on. Another thing to keep in mind, like, so if this all goes out the window for a second, and let me say why. If you are used to a certain paddle being 60 inches, and it's kind of within the parameters of what we're offering, then stay with that. Stay with whatever size. If you're a 57, always been a 57-inch kind of guy or gal, you're going to want to then just stay with the 57. You're going to feel comfortable. You already know and to expect that. So this is for the person that has never properly sized a canoe paddle or is just, curious about it, or just completely new at it and just wants to make sure that they get a size that they're going to be comfortable with. Now, things that could happen if you have a paddle that's too long is that the blade will be really deep into the water, and you're going to get a lot, like the paddle's not going to perform the way it should because it's going to be so much deeper in the water. And what happens is then you're going to put a lot more strain on your body and your midsection, and you're just not going to have a good time. And then, of course, if it's too short, the paddle's not going to be all the way in the water, and then it's not going to be as efficient either. So, I mean, you have those things to think about. So, I mean, obviously, there's workarounds if you have a shorter paddle and you got to kind of navigate. I mean, obviously, you just kind of, go a little deeper in there, kind of play around with your paddle stroke. But, I mean, when you bash your hands on the gunnels a little too many times, you're going to really not like that. So one of my first, my Algonquin trip into the backcountry many moons ago, I was like, hey, can I get a canoe paddle? And they just the outfitter just gave me a beaver tail. I was like, here, that'll work for you. I was like, okay. And I knew already that the canoe paddle was just, it wasn't the right size for me. And the whole trip, so we started at Ring Lake and we started going down, and within like a few moments, not even, you know, like that, as soon as it like, it has that first narrow and then it opens back up and it just kind of goes. That I didn't even get to that point, and I just kept cracking my knuckles on the gunnel because it was just it didn't fit right, and I just kept hitting it. So that was not fun. So it's kind of important to get it just right. So
cool. Okay, that, you know what, that's great. All you guys need to do though really is go to hunterandharris.ca. I had the link up there. I'll actually throw that back up on screen once again here. He does have the write-up on how to properly size, and then you know what, all you need to do is speak to Milan, because he's very helpful with getting this stuff. We got a couple people here in the basement. I'd like to get them up here to ask a question. We'll start with Darren from Ride Paddle Repeat. 2 weeks in a row for you, man. Last week you got to meet Les Stroud. Tonight you get to meet Milan from Hunter and Harris.
Thanks very much for having me, Dennis. Appreciate it. Hi, Milan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So I think this question has to do with kind of what you just talked about in the sizing and stuff. Let's see. So I have my first paddle here. I tend to keep running it on the gunnel. I don't know if that's my just poor technique or what have you, but maybe it has to do with the sizing too. So I guess it's a two-part. One is, if you see this a lot and it's rubbing a lot, could that potentially be an issue with the sizing? And two, if it's just a matter of, you know, preference and I'm actually using the gunnel to leverage, is there anything you'd recommend to wrap a paddle just to keep it, you know, so it's not as abrasive, or potentially as a way to refinish it? You were talking about some of the finishing, maybe sand it down.
Yep. All right. You know what? My paddles look like that, but they look like that because I use something called the Canadian stroke. So I use the gunnel to kind of use it as like the pry for the, you know, so you corrected part of the stroke. So that to me is like something that I see quite often with paddles. So I'm not blown away by that. But if you're saying that when you're on your power stroke, you're rubbing up against, that's might not necessarily be the sizing, but it could be technique. So maybe you're just kind of used to sitting a certain way and not getting all the way over. And I know it's kind of uncomfortable, and you can't really change that way at that point. But that's kind of what I'm seeing, because I'm seeing, like, I see the rub there from rubbing against, but I also see, because you must be doing the Canadian stroke.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I can see that on there. So that's what I'm taking from that. So to fix that at this point, I don't even think, like, here's another thing, that paddle the way you want to paddle. Like, this is a free freaking country, you know? So do whatever you want, and don't let anybody like frown upon whatever you're doing. Just go have fun with it. So if that's the way you are, that's the way you are. A couple things to remedy that. If you want to make it look like, you know, back to brand new, yeah, you're gonna have to sand it down. I would start with probably as aggressive as 80 grit, just to get all that gunk off. But before I do that, clean off your paddle. On my website, there's a refinishing part of it, and I believe I also touch base on varnishing. But I say to use mineral spirits to wipe down to get all the grease and grime off. Don't have to use mineral spirits. You can also use rubbing alcohol, even the stuff in your not in your pantry, but in your like whole pharmaceutical part of your bathroom or whatnot. You can use that. Wipe it down. That stuff flashes off very quickly, which means it dries off very quickly. And then have at it. Start sanding it. Get all that stuff off, and then put some nice coats of varnish on there. Preferably 4 coats at least, because that area really gets a lot of wear. If you just kind of, you're like, whatever, you can do something called whipping. And whipping, it didn't even read what Paul wrote, but
he was saying he's going paddling with Darren here next week, and he better be a professional paddler.
I wonder if Paul is still rocking.
Pressure is high.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can use something called whipping. Whipping is like a type of lashing. I think you use jute, is it? Or something like that. And you wrap it around nice and tight and take epoxy. This is a lot of money already. I apologize, but take some epoxy and put that on there. It's going to harden. And I mean, and then put a little bit of varnish on top of that. And that thing is just going to be bulletproof. Now, if you want something really cool looking and really traditional, get a piece of leather and then stitch that on. Use some contact cement to put that on. Excuse me, sorry, the beer is making me a little gassy. I apologize. But if you do that, that is also another remedy, and it looks really, really cool. But you also want to seal your leather with an outdoor type of sealant. I hope that helps. But I think it looks cool. It's like a worn pair of jeans, man. It looks pretty cool. Like that's my biggest thing.
I had an old cedar paddle that looked like that, Darren. So you're doing all the right things, because I was.
Perfect. No, that's great.
Man. It's used, right?
Thanks very much. That was really helpful. And I'll just have to buy an H&H. That's the solution too. So
it really is. Well, take a gander and try Paul's H&H's. I know he's got a couple, so if he brings them.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
There you go. Good. Hey, have a great time on your trip, Darren.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Okay, so we got Russell in the basement. I think he has a question, and let's bring him up. Russell, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear me?
Fudge.
There we go.
Sorry about that. That's my most common thing, is to talk to a mic that's not on. Anyway, hey guys, yeah, sorry about that earlier, Dennis. My wife called, and I had to take the call.
Not a problem.
Always wife. Happy wife, happy life.
How you doing, City Girl, if you're watching?
No, she's not watching. She's dealing with a bunch of other crap. Anyway, yeah. So my question is this: I was watching another YouTuber, big YouTuber. He was on some kind of canoe adventure, and he went fishing, of course, and he caught some fish. And then he took the fish and he slapped it on his canoe paddle, and processed the fish with his knife and all that right on the canoe paddle. And I thought, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that on a canoe paddle. So what do you think? Yes or no? Should you be processing your fish, with a knife on a canoe paddle?
Sure, why not? I've done it. Yeah,
okay.
I honestly, I see no problems with that as long as your paddle is oiled and sealed. Like I'm assuming you're concerned with like the fish guts and stuff getting on it and the blood.
No, the knife marks.
Oh, the knife marks. Oh well, then you're not really cleaning it proper if you're getting the knife. I'm just saying.
Clean a fish, Russell.
That's how he's doing. Just a quick note to that guy. If you, I'm not gonna go there. No, it's honestly, if you're not filleting it properly, yeah, absolutely, the knife's gonna get on there and it's gonna cut it, and that's gonna be a problem over time. Especially on like a varnished canoe paddle, because if it goes underneath the varnish, the water gets inside there, it can lift off the varnish. That's essentially, varnish becomes very vulnerable when you penetrate through into the wood. So that's something to be mindful. But if you have it on an oiled paddle and you get a knife mark on it, it's not a problem, because when you put oil on it, the oil will seep into that knife gouge, and it'll just kind of level itself out in there. It's going to seal it. So that's something to keep in mind. So on an oil paddle, no problem. But it just sounds like there might have been a little technique issue that YouTuber had when it was coming to cleaning fish, because I've never done this. I've just done this. And my fish are...
Honestly, I'd have to go back and look at the video again. I don't remember exactly how he did it, but I just remember thinking, oh, should he be doing that? So.
Yeah. Well, that's my take on it. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I hope that kind of answers things for you.
I agree with what you're saying there too, Milan, because I have often cleaned fish on my canoe paddle, simply because you get to a campsite while you're canoeing and you don't have the opportunity, there's no flat surface or a table, and you do it on a rock, you risk damaging your knife while you're on a canoe trip, thereby, So I would rather do it on the paddle itself. Even better is if you do it on your buddy's canoe paddle instead of your own. So
I got to say, Russell, if that's your basement, good for you. The thing looks awesome.
If that's my what?
Your basement looks very nice.
Oh, this is
my
actually
cabin.
cabin.
Russell's off-grid cabin.
Oh, it's an off-grid cabin. Oh, even better. Wow.
It's the disco ball kind of throws it off for you, right?
Oh, no, it doesn't. It adds that little je ne sais quoi,
Thank you. Anyway, yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else there, Russell, or did you get your?
No, I mean, yeah, no, that was my thing. That was it.
Cool.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks.
Maybe we'll talk later.
You popping in. Thanks for the great modding skills that you have in the chat there too. I appreciate it.
I'm mostly just saying stupid stuff, but you're welcome.
There we go. Awesome. We'll talk later, man.
Nice. All right. Good night.
Stick around for the green room if you like. Peace out. And we got one more person in the basement. We'll get to him in just a moment. So we talked about the oils and things like that. Maintaining your paddle. How do you keep your paddle looking like new? How do you keep it fresh when you're actually using it?
After using it, obviously, like I was mentioning before, wipe it down, put it in a place that's cool and dry, away from a furnace, away from heat registers, even away from like a big window, that kind of stuff. I know that you want to have it on display, but kind of be mindful of that. Wood is a very much a living thing, so it's going to want to adapt to its environment. One thing that cherry will do, though, if you allow it to, is it will darken a little bit more. But maintenance after every few trip. Now, this one here, it's a prime example of what you shouldn't do. But this has been, I think this one's 3 years old, and yeah, it's seen some fun stuff. And I have not oiled it once. This is what you would get right out of the box, I guess out of the package, however you got it, if you buy it online or not. And this has never been oiled. So what I would do is I would just take a little bit of oil. And now before I started this, I actually wiped this down before the show, just with some alcohol, and let it flash off. I as well, I wiped it down from all like the grime and everything. But if you'll allow me a few moments just to kind of show you the stark difference of what's going to happen with all those scratches and everything. I just take a
screen with this.
Sorry?
Go full screen with this.
Okay.
We'll get the Walt's question in one moment here.
This is just a what you're going to need: some oil and, of course, something to wipe it down with beforehand, like the alcohol. And just a blue shop towel right here. You can use a rag, t-shirt, anything that doesn't have that much lint on it. So we're just going to open up this linseed oil here. And I don't put much on, but I'm just going to get some more, whatever. We'll deal with that. Okay, so let me get up here. All right, this is, now we're going to just put, we have a little bit of oil on this rag here. You want to wear gloves. I'm just not going to do that right now. So we're just going to, and somehow magically the scratches all go away. Okay, this one needs a lot more oil. Usually a little bit of oil will do it, but
what was the term you used earlier when you and I were speaking? The wood is thirsty?
Oh yeah, the wood is thirsty. This one is very thirsty. Anyways, and what you'll do is you'll just kind of rub that oil on there, and it's going to seep all into all those voids and cracks and whatnot. And already, I mean, this paddle is starting to look a lot better. I mean, look at that. It's just so beautiful. And you want to do that to both sides. I'm not going to do that to both sides right now, but you ideally want to. But I'm really, one thing I'm going to show you is I'm not doing circular patterns. I'm just kind of going up and down, and dragging it in. And just around here, I'm just following the curve at the bottom of the tip. and just back and forth. And the reason for that is I'll show you in a second. But essentially what I would do is I would leave this canoe paddle for about 15, 20 minutes. Okay, here's something, quick tip so you don't burn your house down. See this right here? This will catch on fire. And yes, it will catch on fire just the way it is right now. This is just everyday drying oil, but it will catch on fire because it produces heat as it dries. So you have to discard this properly. Just read on the back of the label. But what I do is I just make it nice and flat, and I put it on the floor, concrete floor, and let that dry out. But just double check with which product you use. Now,
I just throw mine under my neighbor's car.
Oh God,
we don't get along very well.
Oh well,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Great neighbors.
So at this point, you want to wait about 15 minutes, and then the oil's really going to soak in. This is 400 grit sandpaper. You can go up to 800. 400 to 600 is a really good sweet spot. And we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to go back and forth, and we're just driving that oil even further in. And what we're doing at the same time is we're making a slurry. Oh my God, come on, Blaine. You could barely see it, but there's a really fine slurry that we're making on this canoe paddle right now. And what that's doing is it's further leveling out and smoothing out the canoe paddle that much more, okay? And it's gonna keep a really nice, smooth, silky surface. So
you're doing that while it's wet, correct?
Yes, yeah. So you would wait until it's 15 minutes so it soaks in, and the residual oil that sits on top, you're gonna sand again, and you're gonna drive it in there. And then after that, after you've sanded it in, you then take a dry piece of blue shop towel or rag or whatever, and this is when you go in circles and you buff it in, like waxing your car when you're taking the wax off. You're doing the exact same thing with this. And now we're just gonna go like this. This is kind of hard to do when I'm like trying to make sure it's in frame. And oh yeah, dude, if you can feel this right now.
It's looking good.
Ridiculous. You're gonna feel the tension release, and the frictions is gonna give up, and it's gonna get warm in your hand, and that's fine, and that's what you want because you're warming up the oil. And when you're warming up the oil, it gets thinner and it gets deeper and penetrates more and it protects more. And you don't have to do this all the time. You do this after one major trip. Maybe do this once or twice a year, 3 times a year, depending on how much. But I hope I can show you.
That looks like a brand new paddle again.
That looks brand new. I can put this, you know what? I'm going to put this one for sale. No one will ever know. But that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like before. Right there. Wow. I hope people can see that. Yeah. And that's what it looks like now.
Nice.
And yeah, you do that for the whole entire paddle.
I may never go back to a varnish paddle again. That's beautiful. I really like the finish of the oil.
Yeah. And you wait, you want to wait 20, well, you know what, for this, when you burn in the finish or you sand in the finish like that, you want to wait about 36 hours, 48 hours, preferably if you really can, a full week, just to let it really set in. And you got yourself a really nice, smooth, beautiful paddle ready to go for your next adventure.
Cool.
Just
cool.
like that.
We did have 2 more people in the basement. One just disappeared out. Yeah, let's take another viewer here, and let's see here. Just give me 1 second, Milan. This always happens week to week, right?
Hi, I'm Kevin Callan, the Happy Camper.
Woo! Yes, I'm Apostle number 14. Well, if you visited me instead, you would have been fine. It's one sexy beast, I'm telling you. You know, I called you poopy pants. Sorry about that.
Did you really?
I will hold in my urine for you, Dennis.
You have to remind Kevin that this is a family show.
What about the chipmunks?
Awesome.
Hey, welcome to the stream, Mr. Kevin Callan. How you doing, bud?
Sir, I'm busy measuring my shaft.
Oh, whoa, there we go. Remember what Hap just said? This is a family show.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
no. Kevin, meet Milan. Milan, meet Kevin. Unless you want to.
We have, but it was at the Canoe Symposium. You were very busy, but yeah.
Yeah, we talked a bit at a couple of shows actually. Probably the worst time ever to talk to me is at a canoe show.
I know you're on fire. Every time I see you, you are just incredible. That's
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel. That was solid information tonight. Wow, that's incredible. Actually, it was really one of your best shows, Dennis. It was really good. And also I got the whole answer for filling fish on your paddle blade. Yeah. Just bring Pine Martin and you won't have a problem because you won't catch fish.
Fighting words.
Oh yeah, is Martin even in the stream tonight?
I'm not sure actually, but yeah, Darren too. Like his point, yeah, he's obviously doing the Canadian stroke. I think that's a really good point, and I think that's just proof that guy's gone on incredible trips. There's no issue at all with that shaft being all.
No, I think it's fine. I mean, I have a few that are just. I mean, they're just completely. There's no varnish on them anymore. But
yeah, I wrap leather around mine, put a brass tack in to hold it in, and that's helped me quite a bit too. But the question I have for you, so I was watching the show. Actually, it was great. I was watching the whole show tonight because I was doing some work and I was listening to the show, and about a quarter way into it, someone asked the question about the double blade, single blade, and I was like, oh, that's going to be interesting. And because Dennis knows that I always bring that up, and I mean it as a joke. I don't mean it in a negative way, but I am concerned about so many people doing double blade paddling right now and not single blade, but because I'm an old man. Yeah. But it seemed like you were backpedaling that whole thing. Like it was like, so I'd like to. The question I would have for you is, what do you think about what's going on now? There's a lot of young YouTubers using double blades and not single blades, and you make single blades. So what do you think is going on?
I think it's. I just gotta choose my word. You know what? Maybe I don't have to choose my words. I think it's just it's a trend. It's a trend, and one day down the road, people are gonna be like, "What the heck was that all about?" That's my personal opinion. I don't like the whole idea because even with those rings, now I've never used like a really good kayak paddle or anything like that, and I've only used it once in my life. But you get wet, like my hands get wet, so right away I don't like that. But ergonomically, let's think about this. If you're sitting in, like you and I both have a Prospector Nova Craft, we all have Prospectors, right, guys? Yeah, I think so. The thing is, you're not sitting down like on a kayak. A kayak's sitting more flat. So like, and the way it works is it's right in your mid torso, or not even closer to your navel, right? Like your pivot point, or just above that on an actual like traditional kayak. And now what you're doing is you're bringing that angle up higher. So when I'm watching these people, other than one person I saw today on a Instagram post that was using a double blade, was that it just that the angle just looks a little cumbersome. But I guess maybe there could be some kind of what's that word that I'm looking for? You feel safer with the double blade because you can traverse across a lake better. But I don't know if I can really buy it that well, because if you get a flappier blade, like, or even a bent shaft, I don't see what the problem is if you know how to keep it in check. I don't know. I'm trying to keep as reserved as possible here, Kevin. I don't want to open up a huge debate. People are going to blow up underneath. People are going to call me names and stuff, and then I'm going to have to blame you.
Well, it's okay to blame me. I mean, but you actually make single blades, so I thought it was a really good question to ask you.
No, it's like I said. I think it could be. It's a little trendy, but you have this like. I think people are using like 108-inch paddle. So what's that? That's 9 feet, right? Like so you have a 9-foot paddle out there, and it's just I don't know. I feel like the angles. If you want to get at the actual angle of like what a kayaker would be doing and the efficiency of how the kayak and the angle of attack goes in, you have to be sitting pretty freaking low to get that. Now you're running into problems because the gunnels are going to be riding up on you, and there's no gunnels on a kayak. Well, I mean, Actually, there is no gunnels on the kayak. What am I talking about? Absolutely not. So now that like when you're sitting down lower, you're going to be up higher, and like now you're using a lot more power than a kayaker would be using to propel your craft. I'm not buying it that much. I guess maybe it's like a security issue.
I think that the whole thing of the double blade right now is based on the pack boats that are out there, right? Which are basically a canoe shell, usually a shortened canoe shell with a kayak seat in them. So that's putting your center lower. So that's why the phenomenon, or as you say, the trend right now seems to be going towards these pack boats, thereby using a double blade. Unless you get the one that has like the 2-up seat where you could raise it and then you could still use a canoe paddle. I have both. I've got a 16-foot Novacraft Prospector, which I would not even think about using a kayak paddle in, right?
Yeah.
That's what my single blades are for. But when I use my Swift pack boat, it's a different story because my behind is sitting basically in a canoe or in a kayak paddle. Now, the new Norseman that I just picked up from Milan is basically so I can use that in my pack boat as well. So it's a shorter shaft on the, as I mentioned, a 54-inch as opposed to the 57-inch if I was using it in my Novacraft.
Yeah.
So I too think it's a phenomenon, but you know what? They both have their place. Now I've seen YouTubers using as recently as like this week, watching them use it in 16 or 15-foot prospectors by Novacraft using a double blade, but they're on these expeditions trying to cover water, right? So
doesn't Jim use a double blade?
Yeah, Jim and Ted in their Manitoba. We'll talk to them probably about that next week when they're on the show. Their choices, but I know why they picked it is because they're trying to cover a lot of distance. It's not a sightseeing tour where they're just the serene going along the stream. They're actually trying to cover some.
Well, would you say that that's really the answer then? Hunter and Harris, like you make single blades. Are you seeing that the market is not your market right now because they're always in a hurry to get somewhere?
I honestly, I haven't felt that the market is done anything to the single bladed guys, at least for me. If it changes, then I'll maybe look into it. I know a long time ago, people have asked when we were like our first 2 years, we did get quite a few people asking if I could make them a traditional double bladed paddle. I even remember, a very famous YouTuber that uses them ask about that from me. And I said, not right now. I have to stick to what I know. And I have not a freaking clue what to do with double blades. I mean, that's just taking like two single blades and putting them together. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just there's just something about it that if I go down that route, and the other reason is I'm in a 400 square foot shop. To wield around a 9-foot paddle is insane. Like even at the very most, we used to make 67-inch paddles, and it was just too much. It was really difficult to do. So for me, that's where we're at.
And can you imagine measuring the shaft for that? That would be like huge, wouldn't it?
You need 2 meter sticks, at least.
Sorry, Dennis.
It's okay. Double the length of your shaft, Kevin.
These innuendos are welcome.
Yeah, no, I'm joking around, but in all seriousness, I thought actually that question because I was watching the show tonight, and you're very informative and you know your stuff, and I thought, I'm going to ask this guy this question about what he thinks, because you were in the world of single blade right now, in a world of double blade. So yeah, cool.
I have to ask you then, Kevin. I've seen you've shown your canoe paddle collection. I won't say where you keep it because I kind of know where you keep it because you showed it in one of your videos. But we don't want people visiting your backyard. But what's your favorite style of paddle to use? Are you like do you favor the otter tail, beaver tail? Do you have a favorite?
Solo, I would do otter tail. Ray Kettlewell's old otter tail, which is similar to yours, which I really think is phenomenal. Also, a big bonus for that is when you made a good point about when you're shallow, it doesn't make any sense, but it does make sense if you're in the shallow and you need to pole up. if you need to pull up the current, you can use that, and it's a lot better than a beaver tail.
Oh, 100%.
I use a beaver tail or an extended otter tail, but your Norseman actually makes sense if you're trying to make time. That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, majority of my paddles are beaver tail, but the ones I will take solo, the ones I cherish, and actually, the people that trip with me know that I don't take care of my stuff. Like, poor Tim at Canadian Outdoor Equipment, he's like, Kevin, like, have you oiled your stuff at all this year? No, I've been too busy paddling, Tim.
Yeah. And that's good.
Oh yeah. So, but it would be my solo extended otter tail, I call it, and but the beaver tail would be the one I would just grab off the rack.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't use a square tail paddle unless I'm doing rapids, and I'm doing rapids all the time, so I need to push water really quickly. But if I do a trip, especially solo, and I'm doing a whitewater, then some lakes, then I'll bring both. I'll bring a beaver tail for going across and doing the whole J stroke along the gunnel, which is nothing wrong with that, by the way. And then when I go into rapids, I'll use the square tail to get that water moving really quickly to get around the obstacles.
Now, I have read quite a few of your books, and I know how much you love these.
Well, I think it's what we're talking about today, because that was a trend back then too. I mean, it's a really good idea, and it's a really good paddle in some areas, but it's to make you go quicker. And when you go to the Boundary Waters in Quetico, 84% of the people, 94% of the people are American use going in there, and they're using the bench shaft to go across lakes because the portages are minimal, and if they're there, they're only like 300 meters, so you're paddling a lot more. So when I'm there with a prospector canoe, with a beaver tail paddle, single blade with leather strap around the side, running the gunnel, they're like, "Oh, you're from Ontario. You probably live near Algonquin."
Everybody assumes, right?
Yeah, so it's the same thing, right? It's yeah.
So would it be suffice to say that people, the double-bladed community, might be missing the point?
Well, I think they would they're missing my point, which is fine. Because actually, like you said, everybody can do whatever they want. It's a free country, and I think that's phenomenal. I just, the point that I'm always trying to make is you better know the skill set then, because I'm really worried about double bladers not knowing a skill set of how to paddle in the far north, and how to go down a stream, how to go across a big lake, and how to actually, your paddle is more important than your canoe. I'm actually more connected to my paddles than my canoes. I have lots of canoes, but if I want to talk to something of my gear one night, it'll be my paddle.
Yeah,
right? That's what gets me across the lake, right? So, and I'm sounding old, the Uncle Kevin thing, but I'm worried about that they're losing skill because doing a double. I use a double blade. When I do far northern trips, I went across to the Mississippi Lake. I use a double blade. Why wouldn't I? But when I got into the river, I freaking toss that. So I'm worried about the skill set. That's all.
Yeah, noted, and actually valid points.
Cool.
Buy a Hunter and Harris paddle.
Exactly, and we're going to tell everybody how they can get one of them in a few short moments. So don't go anywhere, anybody. Awesome, Kevin. Thanks very much, man. Stick around in the green room if you like. We'll be.
Oh, that got me in trouble last week.
No, it did. Nobody got in trouble. Although you and Hap Wilson were quite funny down in the green room last time. So.
Oh no!
You're not Hap. Sorry, Les Strout. Yeah.
Les Strout. Yeah. Good, great interview, by the way. It was fantastic, and it was not set up. I did not set that up to have him sing.
No, but that was awesome. I can't believe Les Strout sang on the show. Played guitar, blues.
He's a phenomenal. I was about to say something. Phenomenal musician.
Yes.
And knowing that he was that he used to work at Much Music. I mean, the guy's a legend.
And he goes on tour with the Northern Pikes.
Does he?
Yeah.
I remember. Geez, what do they say? They have like one really big hit that I always hear on Rock 95. Oh, geez, the Northern Pikes. That is.
I would love to do, when this whole COVID is over, I would love to do a concert of all the musicians that are paddlers.
Yeah, let's do it.
There you go.
Oh, Alrighty, I'm gonna get ready to close this show up. Kevin, we'll see you in the green room, I hope.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, so
Nice asking, and nice talking to you again, buddy.
Yeah, you too, bud.
All right, so to anybody that wants to know what can we expect from Hunter and Harris over maybe like the next year or two? Is there anything in the works that you could let out of the bag, or are
sure.
we just going to keep the wheels rolling the way they are?
Expect. Pardon me. Sorry. There's a lot of sawdust particulate in this room right now, so expect to see some laminated paddles coming down the pipe. It's going to happen, and I don't think I can keep my mouth shut for much longer about it. So there will be in small quantities. I apologize for that. I'm a one-man show, guys. My hands and my body, I have to protect it so it can keep going for many moons. So if you guys are okay with that, then I'm okay with it. And you know, I just want to make it clear to everybody that those are coming. So just because I know that we've had a lot of questions about it, so there you go. The cat's out of the bag.
Awesome.
And yeah,
you heard it first here on Canoehound's.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, and lastly, you know what? I've seen it pop up in the chat a few times tonight, Milan. People want to know where they can actually get their hands on a Hunter and Harris paddle. Are they being sold strictly in retail locations, or can they be ordered through your website?
Yeah, so they can't be ordered through us anymore, so we don't do direct-to-consumer sales anymore. But we go through London, the London's Paddle Shop down in London, Ontario. And we also sell through the Complete Paddler in Toronto, as well. For the 2022 season, we're going to be expanding throughout the Novacraft dealer network. So we're hoping that more paddles will be out in paddler canoeists' hands throughout that dealer network. So kind of stay tuned with us on Instagram, Facebook, and even shoot us a line, and even check us out at hunterandharris.ca for announcements when that happens. Because we're working hard over here, trying to get as much lumber and chop them down and get stuff going. So, man, I mean, 2021 isn't over yet, but I'm already looking forward to next year. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Well, I must say, I am the proud owner of 200 and Harris paddles now, and I will cherish them. One of my first communications back to Milan when I got it was, how do I dip this in the water for the first time? These things, they're so beautiful.
Close your eyes and just do it. Get it over with.
I know, right? Yeah, trust me. They're gonna service my my paddling needs for many years to come. I'm quite sure. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, man. I really appreciate it, for sharing your knowledge. I wish you the best with business, and you want to finish or something.
Dennis, I do. Mira has graced us with her presence.
Hi, Mira. How you doing?
Usually I like to be behind the camera, so this isn't a comfortable spot for me, but I couldn't have the sense of it saying hello. And thanks to everybody for their interest and support over the years. We really appreciate it.
Hey, I have to thank you as well, though. Thank you for being a frontline worker.
Oh, yes, my pleasure.
Thanks for all you do. You're a brave girl.
Well, there's thanks to everybody out there. I think we're all seeing the light, so keep trucking.
Yep, get your shots, people. That's what I say. Thanks very much. No, thanks for lending us the husband for the night here. Yeah, and it's been nice communicating back and forth with you while he was up north. Fun.
No problem. One day he'll do bedtime.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so Milan, I'm going to drop you down into the basement. Stick around. I'll finish off with you in the green room. I'll just close out the show. We'll be a couple minutes, and that'll be that.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Hunter and Harris paddles. You can find them over at. I'll put the link up here on the page once again, which is right there. By all means, do check them out. All their information is also in the description below. So if you want to get a hold of Milan or check out their social media feeds, there is a feed there to a YouTube channel, which is not his YouTube channel, but it was that intro video that I played at the beginning. tells a lot about their story, about how the canoe paddle is every canoe paddle is a story, and how are you going to live your story, right? So by all means, check them out. You will be getting a great quality paddle. We'll have them on as a partnership here throughout the entire season. Thank you very much for that, guys and gals. I really appreciate that, Milan and Mira. And yeah, we'll go on from there. Just wanted to touch base a couple things here before we do take off. Please do not run out just quite yet. I'd like to thank everyone for popping in tonight. If you missed last week's show, I'm going to drop in the chat right now the link to the show with Les Stroud last week. By all means, check it out. It was a fascinating show. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth the view. Just want to also mention that don't forget next week we have Jim and Ted Baird will be on the show. Follow us on Facebook for updates as to what's going on with that show. The week after, being October the 5th, we have Xander Budnick's going to be on the show. And then October, we have a few real doozies already lined up for you. We will give you them dates and names and topics once we get a little closer, but rest assured we do have a couple, including this gentleman that lives out in Newfoundland, a real adventurer, big time tripper, initials JB. If that rings a bell, you'll want to stay tuned for that one there. He'll be on the show with us. I believe he even just got married, so we'll probably talk a little bit about that as well. Let's see here. If you haven't already done so, there's a little thumb up, a little thumb down there, thumb up and a thumb down. Please hit the thumbs up. Or if you didn't like this show, hit the thumbs down 2 times. Okay. Just to make up for that. And also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We have all kinds of great content coming to you in this, our 3rd season. This is our 3rd episode. We're going to make sure we have a lot more coming to you throughout the entire season. Anyways, remember everybody, my name is Dennis, Canoehound Adventures. Thanks for joining us and have yourselves a great week. Keep the adventures alive. Talk to you later.